Hey everyone, it's another edition of Interludes Lecture Presents Talk on Tuesdays. Man, where did the month of February go? I am trying to figure that out right now. I don't know about you, but February has gone by in a flash. There's some things happening. Many of your airwaves are being, invaded right now. And I hope you are here because you want a break. We provide that entertainment break every single Tuesday. And I'm excited that I have a really special guest, a friend to the show, coming to the stage. And Coach Tony, we'll get into all the good stuff and fun that we've had over this last 4 seasons of the Pull Up Podcast Show. I'm so proud of Coach because let me just say this. He loves what he's got going on. And when I say he loves what he got going on, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Mr. Springer is in the building. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. And like I said, I'm very excited about what is going on. And yes, hey, how are you doing, Mr. Springer? My former home, ladies and gentlemen, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. 23 inches of snow over the last 24 hours to 48 hours. That's a lot of snow. A little bit too much for me. So, Mr. Springer, I hope you're doing well in your neck of the woods. That's why one thing I miss about New York, everything was in walking distance. But if you can't walk, like what's the purpose? It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get going. It's another edition of Interludes Extra Presents Talk on Tuesdays, and we're about to get started right about now. We'll get started again right about now. It's another edition of Interlude Sector Presents Talk on Tuesdays. I think I like this layout better. Yes, I like this layout better. Man, we're excited to have you here. And of course, a DJ saved my life. It is the book. I'm so excited. The book about myself, saving myself during the pandemic, becoming a virtual DJ and a podcaster. If you want to find out the ABCs of starting your own podcast, you should check out the book. I got 10 copies left. We've been selling out, which has been great. And I appreciate all of you all. PureLighthouseMedia.com. You can go ahead and order it and you can get your signed copy. As soon as I sell out, it's going to Amazon because we're going to keep things moving. Thank you so much, Mr. Springer. Appreciate that. And I always have to mention this: to become a sponsor, book time with me. And that you can also do that at PureLighthouseMedia.com. And then also Patreon. We just did a marathon yesterday of the show, the Pull Up Podcast Show. And I think I recorded maybe about 30 minutes after the show. A lot of those things that happen after the show, before the show, my prep planning, that all happens over there on Patreon. And did you know that it is free to join Patreon? I have the Purple Robe Diaries. I love that. And then, of course, some of my writings, some of my articles over there as well. And of course, Coach Tony, he wants to get in, but we have about 15 members already, but you can join for free. And like I said, support your content creator that's here. And of course, We appreciate that. Key Spot, share, connect, and grow. Cynthia McAllister out of Cincinnati, Ohio. If you want to promote your business on the app Key Spot, go to Key Spot app. And I think I'm assuming I'm looking for that, Mr. Springer. I don't see it yet. But go to keyspot.app.com and then you can go ahead and sign up and get your business out there. I have to let you guys know about the morning meetup. I am so excited. My entrepreneurship has accountability. I'm so grateful for that. Being your own boss, sometimes I'm a good boss, sometimes I'm not. But of course, scan the QR code. You can join this community Monday through Friday for 1 hour. David Shands, who you see right there, he is my business coach. When you see me do offers and I'm online, you're like, why is she offering that? Because I am being trained, which I appreciate it. And I love his motto: consistency is the only cheat code. The only cheat code. And you can join today for $19 a month to join this business community. That's what I'm talking about. And of course, Coach Tony, thank you guys so very much for supporting Coach Tony. He, I think, is up to 155 followers. You all have really been tuning in with him. Scan the QR code and start following him on Instagram. Your girl right here is the social media manager of that page. I talked to him about some of the people he following, but we ain't gonna get into that. I'm not gonna turn into big sis over here. And then, of course, you can follow myself at Interludes_podcast or at Val the Voice Johnson. And that is that. Where is Mr. Thompson, aka Coach? Coach is at a networking event on tonight. We talked about it. I said, Coach, you need to get the word out about your show. We're going to be starting his 5th season of the Pull Up Podcast show in March. We're so excited about that. And I told him, let's take a break, and which means he comes back in 2 weeks. He was like, we can't take off the whole month. It's March Madness. I said, we'll come back in the middle of the month. So Coach will be back on his live show for the Pull Up Podcast show on March 16th, Monday. And so I said, let's book you some guests, and let me get a little bit of a break, not too much. And thank you so much for that, Mr. Springer. Welcome to episode 523 for Talk on Tuesdays. I appreciate that. It's Black History Month, ladies and gentlemen, and I wanted to let you guys know, well, not about the NAACP awards. We'll get to that. Do you know who Opal Lee is? She is, and she has been tagged as the grandmother of Juneteenth. My guest knows all about Opal Lee and all of the things that she's done to help. I want to call it, she's an American retired teacher, and she's done a lot to help push forward the holiday of Juneteenth. In fact, the big thing that happened back in 2021, Juneteenth became a federal holiday because of her pushing. And yeah, on June 17th, 2021, former President Joe Biden signed the Senate Bill 475, making Juneteenth the 11th federal holiday. So we have a federal holiday because of Opal Lee. I think she is still here with us, 99 years young. So we are so appreciative of Opal Lee. And lastly, I want to let you guys know about the NAACP Image Awards. It is this Saturday. Next Tuesday, we'll be covering it. So I want to let you guys know there are NAACP Image Award shows that are happening virtually every day this week. It did a lot of literary awards yesterday, and they're going to be doing technical and sound and all the rest of that type of stuff, because there's a lot of awards that happen. But of course, the biggest awards are going to be happening on this coming Saturday, and it's airing on BET and CBS, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. I hope you guys go ahead and get a chance to check that out. And if you're in the building, go ahead and give me a shout online. Now, I'm gonna make sure that I can swing to Instagram, because I know a lot of you guys are streaming in from Instagram as well as Twitter. So we're doing our thing. I have to let you all know who is coming to the stage. And I want to say a couple of years ago, I got a chance to see a play called 1619, The Journey of a People. And one of my friends from church, from all places, was like, "You've got to meet Ted. You got to meet Ted. Really talented. You gotta see this play." And I was like, "Okay." And I'm from Chicago, but I've been in New York for a long time. I was just so happy to know that there are people here. There are thespians in Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. They're not all on the coast, the West and the East Coast. They are here. And of course, I checked out the play and was blown away. Blown away. One thing I want to make sure I do and show is the play, what people have said about the play. Let me go ahead and play this for you guys, and then I'm gonna go ahead and bring on Ted, because like I said, he's a friend to the show. He has been here. He has been on our podcast, the Interludes podcast, when I was doing this with Michael Womble. But I said, come and help us close out our Black History Month with some great things. But let me go ahead and share this about 1619, the musical. I'll make sure the sound is up. Here you go.
I really like the way they brought each of the parts of African Americanism into form. So from the beginning to today, I really like how they collaborated all of the generations.
I like the way they transitioned into, I'll say, my lifetime.
No matter how successful you get, you never forget where you come from and know who you are, So that really stuck with me, I like the message of that.
One of the things that really got to me is when they mentioned Marquette Park, because that's like a 10-minute walk from where I live. So just knowing that there's so much history so close to me, and a lot of the people in my community aren't even aware of that.
This was like, oh my God, I didn't know all these things that were going on. So I feel like it was very educational while being entertaining.
All right, guys. Actor, professor, author, and activist. I want to say that he has been inspiring not only his students, but audiences from all around the country and all around the world. He wrote the play 1619, The Journey of a People, and he continues to lecture and tour and engage audiences. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to some and present to others Dr. Ted Williams III.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. It is good to be here. I got to say on a personal note, just so that you know, yes, I'm a thespian here in Chicago. I'm a Chicagoan through and through and love my city. But you must understand that your part of the country is an essential part of my artistic journey, because I lived in New Jersey for close to 4 years, 45 minutes outside of Manhattan. I had my spiritual conversion at that time there, and really got into my spiritual walk while I was there, and would sneak away from class that I was supposed to be at Rutgers to go to shows in the city. And so we go down to Manhattan, and we were there all the time. And so please understand, so we are very connected. It is my favorite place to go when I'm leaving my city. My wife will tell you my favorite place in the world to go is to take that little 2-hour flight out to LaGuardia, and then I hop off and I just walk around the city all day, and go. I ride up to Harlem, and I go and eat at places like Sylvia's, and I just enjoy the city, the energy, the artistry, the diversity. It is life-giving for me. My wife will tell you that if I don't make it there once or twice a year, I start twitching and I don't feel right. So Chicago is home, but my artistry is partially born in your part of the world as well.
Yeah. And you know what I have to say, and I was in Brooklyn for 18 years and was converted in Brooklyn as well. So I know that's that's probably what we initially bonded over, because when you came on initially with myself and my former co-host, I think it was just kind of that meeting of the minds, but it was that complimentary of, I love expressing myself through the arts. And that's kind of, I'm a filmmaker, but to me, in my mind, there's a lot happening. You write, you produce, you act. Like there's a whole journey. And ladies and gentlemen, Ted was busy this month. When I say he was busy, let me put up the put up the list. What was he doing this? I got the list.
Oh, you got the list. Go down the list.
There. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
the beginning of the month. February 1st.
Yeah.
All the way to the 27th.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I have had a couple things added this week since that. So we're going to the 28th. We'll be at DuSable on the 28th. We'll be at the Village of Markham's Black History Celebration after that on the 28th in the afternoon. We have just had a wonderfully full Black History Month. I am going to sleep for a week on March the 1st.
I think that's Sunday. You can sleep good on Sunday.
Girl, yes. I tell people all the time, I'm like, yo, you guys could do your Black History Month in March or April. You could do activities. But everyone wants to cram it in February. And it's only 28 days. Only 28 days. So, I mean, it's like, and honestly, because I feel this is mission driven, and this is, partially how I make my living as well. I literally say yes as much as possible. And when I tell you we are everywhere, it has been so fun. It has been so fun.
I know. And I'm thinking about all of the folks that you have, number one, inspired. And for myself, I'm thinking about just kind of that. I need you to give me like the Cliff Notes on 1619, The Journey of a People. Like, a lot of people that may not know, how did this play come to be, and how did you get in touch with the folks that ended up directing it, coming up with the music, and when you first blocked it and staged it along with the director, like when this beautiful great things happen with the 1619 Journey of People play? When did that all come together?
So the Cliff Note version is 2018. Trying to commemorate the 2019 400-year anniversary of the first 20 enslaved Africans arriving on the shores of Point Comfort, Virginia, trying to figure out how to do it. Was thinking about doing something academic, so I work in the academic space, and I said, I don't want to do that. I want to use the arts, we want to go further than that. And it's honestly, this show has changed my life. My life before this show, my life after the show are literally night and day. And I am so, so grateful for God giving me the inspiration to do it. So now, to be fair, I had been workshopping the ideas for a few years. I had done another big musical called Torn, spiritual production that I had written some years ago. And, it was kind of ending its shelf life for me. I'd done it so much. I needed something else. And I had been workshopping this sort of Black history piece as I was going and doing community events and speaking and teaching, that sort of thing. And the piece just kind of came together. I as an artist, there's no perfection. We've been doing the show for 6 years. I'm still creating stuff. I was creating something today. I was like, oh, we got to change this scene and do that. I think it's going to be forever. And so hooked up with a bunch of my phenomenal artistic friends that I know who were just so supportive. People like Leslie Michelle, who was my original music director, Cynthia Walls, who's my original director, Marcello Lee, who's our co-choreographer with me, but then he went off and did the choreography himself for as choreographer now. I just got with these people. I'll give you a quick story. It's because I have right in this academic space. I was trying to put all this information. Like, I literally got 400 years of history in the show, and we fly through it. And if you haven't seen it in a couple of years, it's totally different now.
It's different from what I saw in 2020.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. It's been 6 years. We've added wonderful cast members. We've cut scenes out. We've added scenes. I've added a choir. I mean, it's just, I'm an artist.
I'm loving the choir. Oh, I love the choir.
You got to keep growing. It's like, the artist and the producer and me are always fighting with each other because the artist is like, hey, let's add 50 more people. And the producer's like, dude, you need to drop 50 people and have 3 people in the show so we can afford it. So I'm always going through that. But real quickly, I had written this scene called I Thought We Were Free, this piece that I wanted to do about the Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877, such an important part of our history, which I want people to know. I'm constantly teaching about it. And the show has allowed me a platform to then go and speak and teach around a lot of the issues in the show. But I wanted to write about that era, about what happened with African Americans. And I wrote this long monologue. And I had this wonderful actress, her name is Rashada Dewan, and she travels all over. She's in Hell's Kitchen right now, touring the country with this. And she was going to be originally in our show. And she reads this monologue and she goes, Ted, this is some great information, but there's no way I can do a monologue this long and have people pay attention to what I'm saying. So she's like, you got to do something else with it. And I go, thank you, Rashada. I'm like, just read the stuff, read it. So I go back.
Needed someone to say yes or no. There you go.
Yeah. So I had to go. I was in the burbs and I had a couple hours. And I went to Panera Bread and I put my headphones on and I just started writing. And I created a song from it. And the song is called I Thought We Were Free. And it is a satirical look at American history from the lens of this character. Her name is Katrina, but Hurricane Katrina is her name in the play. The actress who plays her now originally was Monique Whittington. Currently, Shannon Stiles plays her, and they both did a phenomenal job. But it's a comedic song saying, "Hey, America, you lied to me." Like a woman scorned, like a woman who was waiting for her husband to come home and do the things that he promised to do. This was our relationship with America, and so I realized that it was important in the show to put comedy, to put music, to put dance, so that as we were hitting people with this information, we were uplifting them as well. And I've done this. I mean, I just did this in Bloomington 2 days ago. Sometimes people hire our whole show. Sometimes they hire me by myself, and I'll do like a performance piece. Sometimes I hire, 1 or 2 people. And when I tell you, even just doing sort of lecture with a few pieces from the show, I had a predominantly Caucasian audience the last 2 times I've done this. One was the North Dakota State University. The other was at ISU. We were just at the College of Lake County last week. That's from that. And man, I tell you, people are just, I'm humbled, honestly. I really am. I'm really humbled because people are just receptive. And a lot of the people that are receptive do not look like you and I.
Which is excellent. I mean, I have to kind of just like shout that out. When I was doing a deep dive, number one, on your profile, and then seeing the response from people, like when I found this photo, you put this up, and I was thinking that the vast majority of the people that's in the audience don't look like me. And I guess, I'm assuming, how does that reaction, how do you
I don't know, Val. It's like, I don't even know how to respond. Sometimes, like, I mean, people who are not African, they come to the show, they're always there, always. And they're in the front row, and they're snapping and humming, and they're excited. And I'm like, this is amazing. And I think what it is theater is a safe place.
It is.
To engage with these issues. And I'm like, I never expected this, by the way. I didn't know who we were writing this for. But when I tell you, I dare say thousands of Euro-Americans is what I call them, have been to see our shows and have talked to me and thanked me and said, we got to do better. This is not a show for me. This is a movement. And I will give my last breath to making sure that we continue this work. Yeah.
And I see Kevin's got a question. What compelled you to tell the story of 1619 through a musical theme, and why is that year so critical? You kind of answered that second half, but just
I'll reiterate it just because I'm a teacher. I know sometimes as I'm sharing things, I'll reiterate it and put it in a different way too, so that it's clear. So first of all, thank you so much for the question, Kevin. I really appreciate it. Paul Robeson, who I hope we get to talk about today because he's a real hero of mine,
we will,
said that artists are the gatekeepers of truth. They are civilization's radical voice. That in a time post the Trump era, really, and I hate to bring him up. I know he's speaking right now at the State of the Union. I really want to go watch this. But post sort of 2016, many of us were trying to figure out, how do we continue to express ourselves and make statements. I've written 2 books and I've written a bunch of articles and things like that, but I needed to do more. I needed to get it out to more people. I needed a platform where I could say things and teach and express. And I think musical theater was a great way to do that. I could say a lot of stuff at the show, and people, they paid for tickets, so they kind of stay for the most part. You know, it's
Everything.
like, you know what I mean? I throw a lot of stuff in there. I mean, I throw a lot of my political leanings in there, my statements about society. I throw pieces of my faith in there. And, you know, it's like, hey, I mean, you pay for the show, you're here. Hopefully I've not had really many complaints. There's one piece that I'll tell you that people actually have talked to me about. And I'll explain that one in a second. But 1619, August 20th, 1619, 20 enslaved Africans arrived on the shores of Point Comfort, Virginia on a Dutch ship called the White Lion. It was symbolically the beginning of the African-American journey in the country. We know, however, there are records of African-Americans being on the soil prior to this. The majority of the enslaved went to Brazil and the Caribbean. So there's a lot there that in history tells the story in a more full way. But we celebrate the date, August 20th, 1619, as the beginning of our journey, the journey of the people. And that's why the show is named what it is.
Excellent. And like I said, I think I feel like it's very inspiring when you are able to write something, because I think about this as a writer. You have no idea how people are going to respond to what you have on the written page, or what you and your actors and directors have kind of workshopped. Because you just said, I have started, I switched some things out. There's a choir. Okay, we got rid of that. We added 50 people. We got rid of 40 people. Like it's a constant work in progress. And I think it's because of the independent voice that you have. Mm-hmm. It is being, I think, curated. And I think, how important is it for a project or a play like 1619 to continue to play in front of diverse audiences?
Yeah. Black history is American history.
Thank you. I want you to say that. Just please say that.
And check this out. This is what I told my Caucasian friends at the event the other day. My Euro-American friends. I'll tell you why I've got some language things that I'm trying to teach in the world and out in the show. So I'll tell you about it in a second. But I told them, I said, this is actually your battle. This really should not be mine. Like, just as the Me Too movement, the movement should not rely on women alone. How can the movement rely on women? Men are culpable in what it is that they're protesting and thinking about. So unless you have men who stand up, the Me Too movement doesn't do anything. And so how dare I say to women, hey, you all need to figure this movement out. I think it's the same thing with this movement for racial justice in America. This is not Black folks. This is not our issue. We've already said the stuff, done the stuff, been there. Until people that don't look like us begin to take on these questions and really stand up as allies like John Brown, who gave his life for abolition, allies like this gentleman that I met the other day in this 98%, European American room. This guy walked up to me and showed me the scars on his head and his chin from marching for civil rights in the 60s. And he's a white guy. And that's allyship. You know what I mean? People who have said, I'm standing up. I had a woman, I spoke at the North Dakota State University yesterday. I had a woman say to me, they're trying to stop DEI. So I just renamed it and I kept doing it. She said, and I'm going to keep renaming it. Every time I try to stop, I'm going to rename it again and do it again. And she goes, and basically could lose her job for this. But she doesn't care because it's the right thing to do. The people who stood up against ICE and things like that, the people who marched and died and bled and who hid people in their homes. I spoke at Wheaton College 2 weeks ago. Wheaton College was founded by abolitionists. You know,
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
They don't. It was the first college in the state of Illinois to graduate African Americans, and so that's allyship. And let me say this about history. A lot of times we look back in history and go, "Oh, well, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they were a product of their culture." No, they weren't. I mean, they were at some level. I don't, you know, I have the national respect for Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and what they meant for the country. But I don't have personal respect for them at all because they were heavy slave owners. And I know that's very controversial, but the same way that we negate all of R. Kelly and Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lowry, all of their wonderful accomplishments in their career because of the things that they did, we have to reevaluate the way we look at our founding fathers in this country. Because the Declaration of Independence is phenomenal, but Thomas Jefferson raped children. And that does not, the Declaration does not give him a pass any more than it gives Epstein a pass in terms of what he was accused of doing. So that's a conversation we need to have. But there were people during that time like John Adams and John Quincy Adams who were abolitionists. John Adams was second president. John Quincy Adams was president after him. It was his son. They were abolitionists. They knew better. So even in 1796, when George Washington writes his farewell address, there were people in his world who knew better and who fought. So I don't give them a pass in that way. And so in that way, we have to push true allyship for people and let Americans know that Dr. King said we cannot have a first-class nation with second-class citizens. This issue is for all Americans because ultimately, even Paul Robeson said this, that if you deny the Negro, this is what he said, citizenship, first-class citizenship, America ultimately will lose the benefit of their time, talent, and treasure. And as a result, America will not be what it could be. By the way, since you have Paul Robeson up, let me just say this real quickly. We're talking about art and activism.
Yes, art and activism. Yes, that's yeah.
So if you don't know about Paul Robeson, this Black History Month, I'm telling you, you got to go hear about Paul Robeson. I first learned about Paul Robeson when my mother taught at Paul Robeson High School on the south side of Chicago, and Inglewood is no longer there. And Paul Robeson, I'm connected to him in multiple ways, which is really kind of odd and spiritual. So I learned this later, by the way. So first thing is so Paul Robeson and I have had a similar career trajectory. Paul Robeson was an international superstar. I'm not an international superstar, but I have had some of the same kinds of career feats in terms of working in the arts, working in the political space, working in activism in the same way as Paul Robeson. But here's some kind of weird stuff. I was born in 1976. Paul Robeson died in 1976. Okay. And
wow.
I had no idea, right? I graduated from Rutgers University. Paul Robeson graduated from Rutgers University. I did not know that. Paul Robeson was born in Princeton. I lived probably 20 minutes from Princeton for about close to 4 years of my life while I was in 30 minutes while I was in college. Paul Robeson, well, the very first song that he recorded was a Negro spiritual. They call it called Steal Away. Steal Away is a song that we put in our show through myself and my former music director, Leslie Michelle. We were looking for a traditional sort of Negro spiritual to just kind of bring the house down and connect and that sort of thing. And that was a song we put in there. I had no idea Paul Robeson had recorded as the very first song that he sang. And so I see Paul Robeson and I believe in some ways that God has called me to carry on a part of his legacy by picking up the torch the year that he died and I was born. And I'm honored to do that and to carry the legacy of other artists and activists who I respect so heavily. But Paul Robeson, we need to know about him. He was a lawyer. He was a singer. He was an actor. He was an activist. He was an international star who lost his ability to travel and make money because of his connection with the Soviet Union and the Communist Party and his support for the principles of equality that were laid out in this, and his connection with the oppressed classes of working people all across the world. He was a union man as well, and he would sing all over the world in support of union activities. He met with President Truman about the issues of the African American community. He was highly unapologetic about his support for the rights of African Americans in this country and his connection with the African diaspora. He went to meet with President Truman and said to him, if you do not protect African Americans in this country, African Americans will be forced to be armed and protect themselves. Truman stopped the meeting and essentially kicked him out the White House.
Whoa. Well, Malcolm X. No, let me stop.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And he, as an artist who took a stand, paid the ultimate price, lost his career. And how many more artists or entertainers have we seen in that space? We haven't seen many artists, by the way, do that. We've seen some athletes do that recently. I have a tribute to Colin Kaepernick in my show because I think we have to continue to speak his name, because his name is important, because he stood up for people who could not stand up for themselves, and he lost his job as a result. He lost his livelihood. He made millions of dollars each year. And because he decided to take a knee, which, by the way, was a respectful position, he had been sitting at first. He contacted a member of the military, and they said that you should take a knee out of respect to make your protest. The guy who would disagree with him at first, and they sat down with one another. And he goes, I don't like you sitting down, this and that. And he goes, well, what can I do to be respectful? He says, take a knee. And that will show some level of respect, but also protest. And you know what happened to Colin Kaepernick. And so I believe that we have to be people when we talk about social justice who are willing to risk it all if we have to. And that's the message I told some of the Euro Americans the other night, that you got to be willing to possibly lose your job and lose your livelihood and stand up because people are not going to like it. And I know that's hard. I know it's hard. Yeah. But one of my other heroes is Dr. King. And when you look at what they did during the civil rights era, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, SCLC, Andrew Young, Ralph Abernathy, what they did, Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, what they did was not easy. Progress does not come easily, but it can come by people who are committed. Margaret Mead said, don't ever doubt that a thoughtful, small group of committed people can change the world. Ultimately, it's the only thing that ever has.
Yeah. And since we're talking about people that made an impact, we lost someone last week.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And I wanted to know some of your thoughts on Jesse.
Reverend Jackson. So first of all,
yeah, there you go. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So I've had the great privilege of spending a lot of time in Operation Push in my years here in Chicago. I've appeared on Reverend Jackson's TV show multiple times. I work on his son's radio show consistently. I've met with his other two sons, volunteered there, and I've gotten to have a first-hand look at the work that he has done. The one thing about Reverend Jackson that I think people need to know, he never stopped moving, ever. I have a video of him when we were working with some kids a couple years ago, and I don't want to share it because I've not shared it on social media because, he's in poor health. And so he's stumbling a little bit and they have to sit him down and that kind of, I don't know that I would want someone to share that of me, as proud as he was. I don't know that I want someone. So I have it, but when I tell you he had a room full of kids, I was right there. And he couldn't hardly stand up. And they had to sit him down in the chair. And he is preaching, keep hope alive. I am somebody. You and he had these kids chanting. And it was so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
He never stopped. I read somewhere that they went to visit him in the hospital right before he passed away. Yeah, they gave me an opportunity on this picture to interview him in Marquette Park, where Dr. King and they marched. in the 60s. And Dr. King said after marching through Marquette Park, which I live 10 minutes from Marquette Park right now, not even 10 minutes, probably about 8 minutes. He said that he had been all across the South, but he had never seen mobs as hostile and as hateful as he's seen in Chicago. This was what he saw. And so we were there, myself, Alderman Will Hall, as two kind of young guns running behind Reverend Jackson, interviewing him. Thank you to Reverend Jeanette Wilson for picking us to do that. And we got to spend the whole day with him, asking him questions about walking as we walked through Marquette Park. It was a phenomenal experience. I don't know where the video is. It's somewhere in the archives of Push somewhere, but it was such a great experience. I got to spend time with him and just and connect with him. Hey, Miss Mary Mosley, I see my auntie is watching, and I love her dearly, very much. I see her. But I just was so moved by that. And Reverend Jackson, his legacy will carry on. Those children that he has, phenomenal work in the community, phenomenal work. I have watched and studied him for years. Before I ever met him, I read his book. I'm looking at it right now. It's on my shelf. It's called Legal Lynching. It's a phenomenal book. I recommend it highly. I found it in Hawaii when I was a sophomore in college, and I read it, and it was transformative. And what he said is that his faith caused him to engage in the work of social justice, to move from just giving a man a fish or a handout to figuring out why this man was poor, why was this community poor, why was this nation poor, and what could he do locally, nationally, internationally to impact the world. And that is a legacy that we must carry on. The Bible says that when a seed falls down, unless the seed falls to the ground and dies, it remains a single seed. But when it dies, it produces many seeds. Reverend Jackson has produced many seeds. We pray that the producing of these seeds we will see as we all carry on, myself and all the hundreds of thousands of people that he's influenced throughout the world. We got work to do. And he's done his work, and he's passed the torch on. And shame on us if we don't continue and carry on what he has done. He literally is the bridge between Dr. King and Barack Obama, not only through the spiritual piece and the civil rights piece, but even changing the way that the Democratic Party picked its candidates so that Barack Obama could actually run. So I could talk about him forever. I'm going to stop, but I just want to say this is a week that we should be honoring him, particularly with his Chicago legacy and connection. I am so grateful for his life, and I pray to carry on his work in whatever way I can.
Of course. And Kevin says that picture of you and Jesse Jackson looks like it's taken at a church. And then we mentioned our church in Brooklyn, 188 Hanson Place.
Oh, yeah. No. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, this was in Inglewood. I do remember. It was off about 69th Street. Yeah.
It does look like that. And
but I'm telling you, man, when I tell you, you got to understand, if we can get out to Brooklyn, Valerie, I'm telling you, I have a spirit. If there was any other city in the world I'd live in, it would be your city. And so I love the time I get to spend there. And so if we can get out there, see whatever, I'm always looking for reasons to connect and get out there.
Oh my gosh. I have to ask this because you mentioned it, and I was disturbed about what's been happening with ICE occupancy in some of the Democratic cities around the country. And I think her name, Renee Good and Alex Peretti. And other things have been happening to other people as well. But I think those two deaths, unfortunately, have really sparked like this national, focus on this seems off, this seems wrong. And I wanted to kind of know some of your thoughts on it, because number one, I feel like if people don't know what history is, it's going to repeat itself, especially the bad parts. So what's some of your thoughts on it? I was just curious.
Absolutely. So I was teaching my students just recently about what happens when fascism takes over a nation, and the qualities of a fascist regime are authoritarianism, suppression of dissent. When you have a situation where you have the use of the military, the police state to oppress folks, When you think about this, this idolatry of nationalism, national identity, that we are, Americans, that is sort of the preeminent identity. When violence is promoted, when people are scapegoated for why your life is not going as well as it should. This is all what we saw in these fascist regimes, these dictatorial regimes. We saw this in Nazi Germany. We've seen this all over really the world. And so for us to look at our current president and to think, as Barack Obama said so clearly, he said, presidents don't just say stuff as a joke. Everything the president says is real and it matters and it means something. We have seen very clearly that this person in the White House does not take this job seriously. He does not take the condition of people in this country seriously. He does not take the complexity of all of the social issues and social ills that we are dealing with in this country. He does not take them seriously. And so we have a choice to make. Are we going to rise up as a democratic society and hold this person accountable, or are we going to roll over? I just posted today that I did not necessarily agree with people who have fought fire with him, who have been as vulgar as him, who have been as disrespectful as him. I think we have to do better than that, as Michelle Obama said so clearly, right? When they go low, we go high. I know that many people are like, hey, Michelle, can we go low now, right? We're tired of trying to go high. Is it time to go low yet, Michelle? And I get it. I do. I understand it. I appreciate it. But what Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference taught us is this. In 1957, Dr. King brought a group of ministers to his church, Ebenezer Baptist Church. And they got together to create SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And they decided at that moment that they were going to build an organization that was going to redeem and save the soul of the nation. That they realized that segregation, discrimination, oppression was a moral stain on all folks, not just African Americans, on all folks, that the entire country was suffering because of what they were doing. In the same way, Val, that I would be suffering if I was abusive to the people around me, that it would have a moral stain on my soul. The same way I'd be suffering if I was stepping over homeless people to go to work every day. What would it do to my conscience? What would it do to my soul? Dr. King said that if we don't fix this moral stain on the country, the entire country is impacted. Not just us, but the majority community. They are destroying their own soul too. And I think they understand that, by the way. I think many people understand that. And that's why they're pushing for this. So back to this ICE situation. If we don't stand up, what does it say about us? It says more about us than it does about him. And I think that I have been heartened and encouraged to see people who have decided to stand up and say that we're not going to tolerate this. We don't have to match your ignorance. We don't have to match your vulgarity, but we will not tolerate your oppression and marginalization of people. And man, that's exciting to see. I've been on some marches in some of our communities. I've seen people from all different backgrounds. And I think that these midterm elections that are coming up are so critical. Probably, they always say, the most important election of our lifetime. But I think this is it. Because some of the things that our current president is doing can be reversed immediately. And some, Val, will not and cannot. When you look at his Supreme Court appointments and things like that, those are things that we cannot fix immediately. And so the longer that he is in the White House doing the capricious, ignorant, racist, selfish, self-aggrandizing, passing wealth on to his cronies, the longer that he does that, the more there is to unpack and the harder it will be. We pray that we can get a Congress in this midterm elections that can slow him down, stop him, or stop him completely.
I see some questions that have come. That's me. I don't know what happened. It muted, but saw some questions that have come. But oh boy, the 19th Amendment. I have been looking at a lot of folks online, especially either Instagram and Twitter and some other places, and folks are saying that it's about to come down where the administration is asking for Google, Reddit, Instagram, Facebook to provide names and phone numbers and other identifying information of content creators that criticize openly ICE. And I'm assuming that's the start of the authoritarian, where you can't, like the push against the First Right Amendment. When I saw the arrests of Don Lemon, and
absolutely,
and the other journalist, her name just leaped out of my head. So I'm gonna let you talk on that.
Well, this is un-American.
Mm.
And I use that loosely because a lot of stuff the government has done is un-American, and some things are American that are not good. So that's a whole conversation, right? But for the sake of the time and the argument, we have in the First Amendment a right to the freedom of speech. We have 5 rights in the First Amendment: the right to religion, assembly, press, petition, and speech. And with that, when we lose that, we don't have a viable country. And so attacks against journalists, or even the fear that is peddled towards journalists, we have to rebuff this. We have to fight against this in every way possible. And so I know, for instance, people, like yourself and other folks who are just out here trying to educate, etc., there is potential targeting that can happen. But I will tell you, freedom is worth fighting for. We cannot cower. The only way, when I was a kid, we had a few bullies in our neighborhood. And my parents,
a few.
God rest my mother's soul and my dad, one thing I learned from my parents is how to fight. Neither one of them allowed anybody to run over them. In fact, it might have been the opposite sometimes. Sometimes they were, you know what I mean? But they never let us be bullied. And if someone were to come to us, you need to stand up and fight for yourself. And bullies, oftentimes, as you will find, are not as tough as they look, or as they try to pretend. That if you do fight back and you do stand up, you will find they will cower more often than not. And I think that's what we have to do with our current administration.
I think that is great. That is a great point. And I've heard this definitely with my friends, a lot of my friends that are in and out of church, that say we have to find a way to pray, but then we have to put action behind the prayer. It can't just be prayer. It has to be action.
You want to go there? Let's go there. Let's go there, sister.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
The church has a moral obligation to, I'm gonna butcher this Dr. King quote, because he said it's not a thermostat to tell the temperature, but a thermometer to change the temperature. I think either one of those. Somebody correct me. I forget which one of those it was, but essentially, I think that might be actually right the way I said it. But what Dr. King essentially said was that the church should not be checking the temperature of the society, but it should be changing it. And so the civil rights movement would not have happened without the church. The abolitionist movement would not have happened without the church. The 19th Amendment that gave women the right to vote would not have happened without the church, because the 18th Amendment that was prohibition, that ended the sale of alcohol in America, was organized by the church, women in the church, and then they just moved from that 18th to the 19th immediately right after that and gave themselves the right to vote. So our faith is very clear for those who are in the Judeo-Christian perspective, but those who are in the Islamic perspective as well have a very clear faith about charity, a very clear faith about the marginalized, very clear faith about the oppressed. Jesus said very clearly that whatever we do to the least of these, we've done to him. They asked, when did we see you sick? When did we see you in prison? When did we see you hungry? And he said very clearly, this is who, when you serve me, you are when you serve them, you are serving me. And so I have for many years, Val, wrestled with this question in the church. And I have been on a long journey. I went to seminary for that reason. I have studied all over the place. I've worked with organizations across the country. Namely, and I'm super proud of this work, there's an organization in DC called the Center for Public Justice and the Association for Public Justice, who I've worked with for many years, who helped to ground me in the theology and ideology of Christian justice. And I will tell you so clearly that I am so convinced that it is sinful for people who call themselves of faith and believers to take a apathetic stance on the issues that are harming people every single day. When you think about what the scriptures teach about the refugees in our land, what they teach about those who do not have and how we ought to treat them. I spoke at Wheaton Chapel and I spoke at a church in Hyde Park, St. Paul and the Redeemer, just last week. And I taught from Luke chapter 19 that talked about Zacchaeus. And Jesus and Zacchaeus, I would encourage you guys, for those who are interested in this question of faith, to go look at this story. But Zacchaeus real quickly comes to find out how he can be right with Christ. And Jesus talks about coming to seek and save those who are lost. And Zacchaeus said that if I have wronged anyone, I will pay back 4 times what I've wronged, and I will give you half of my possessions. What he laid out was not only what biblically is called godly sorrow, what eagerness, what earnestness, what longing, what readiness to see justice done, a real desire to see change. But he also lays out a concept that was in the book of Exodus, but also is a concept politically known as reparative justice or reparations. And he says it's not enough to just stop doing the wrong. You must go and repair it. As Malcolm X said, you stick a knife in a man's back 9 inches, you pull it out 6 inches, it's not progress. You pull the knife out completely, then you got to help heal the guy. Then you got to, you give him the hospital, the whole 9. What America has done in 250 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow segregation, we had a civil rights era. We had the Reconstruction era, civil rights era, George Floyd era. I believe that 3 times America tried to do right in this racial justice question, but it's been a drop in the bucket. We're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the country. Right?
Yeah,
we know that.
I'm not excited about that. I don't know why I'm not excited about that no more.
Well, I am excited about. Well, I am excited about it now, only for one reason.
Why?
Because it is a reminder, as Dr. King said, to make America live up to what it says on paper.
Okay.
And that's our job. And as Nicole Hannah-Jones said in 1619 Project, African Americans might be the most patriotic Americans of all because they have hope beyond hope. Talk about faith, right? Being certain of what you do not see. They have hoped to be a part of this American story, and they've been told over and over again, you're not. And yet they keep on trying. I don't know if that is stupidity or patriotism or if it's wisdom. I don't know. I personally think it's wisdom, because I do think that this is our country and we should not give it up, because we've made the country what it is. 13th, 14th, the 15th Amendment came about because of our struggle. So I look at that, Val, and I understand your frustration. A lot of people have it, but I say this is the time. I'm doing a presentation called America 250 right now at libraries across the state of Illinois through the Illinois Humanities group. And I'm doing a presentation that I'll start in May throughout the summer called America 250, Securing the Dream for Us All. How do we take this moment, look at the hypocrisy, but then secure equality going forward, not to make America great again, but to make America great once and for all.
Woo! And I think that is something we just honestly just need to meditate on. And if I was to think about how much my mom, I'll just, go from my family, her leaving Jim Crow South in 1956 and coming to Chicago and coming to find that she faced racism, but it was, I want to make sure I get it right, covert versus overt, not obvious. In the South, it's obvious of the racism, but the permission to be racist has been coming out a lot now. And to me, it's just that painful reminder of our work is not done. I want to share this as we close. You did a recent, it wasn't recent, it was a couple of years ago you did. And I think in you describing about 1619, the journey of a people, just kind of that using the arts to really drive home unity is something that's very, very inspiring. And I just wanted to play this because when I saw this, I was like, that to me is the essence of TED and a lot of the work that you have done and will continue to do. Let me go ahead and play this real quick.
Reality is that it tells our story. And so for me, I teach this stuff in class every single day, but I'm a firm believer that the arts have the power to change minds, the power to change hearts. And if you look at his history, many times when people have come to try to move a community intellectually, they start with the arts because the arts have been used to help to transform the way people think. And that's what this is doing. And so for me, I want to use the arts as a tool to educate, entertain, and inspire.
Yeah, you remember doing that interview?
That's the old one though. That's been a while. It might be pre-pandemic.
It might. I don't know. When I saw it and I was just like, how quickly you wrap that up. Like history is important, but it is to entertain, educate,
educate, and inspire.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that if someone wanted to, number one, follow your journey, if they wanted to just know, because I feel like I had you come to our platform to talk about the politics of things. And I remember with my old podcasting partner, I said, I hate talking about politics, but now it's become unavoidable to talk about politics and the intersections of freedom of speech, the First Amendment, our rights to speak up against things that are wrong. And that's why I figured the best way to close out Black History Month is with a history professor, but then someone who uses the arts to demonstrate and to just show that love for, I can entertain and educate you at the same time, and come to find out we'll find out we have more in common than we have separating us. So that's just kind of.
Let me say this about the political thing, as you said. I guess maybe I'm closing, so I guess thank you. Politics impacts your life, whether you know it, believe it or not. There's an old phrase in politics that says that in politics, either you're at the table or you're on the menu. And so I think that we have to engage. There's my lovely wife. Thank you, dear. We appreciate my beautiful wife. Thank you for her support. In politics, we're going to be impacted by it. And so we don't have the luxury, particularly people who look like us, don't have the luxury to be completely apolitical. People died so that we could be sitting in the seats that we're in. I realized this very early in my life in fourth grade when my teacher came in and started talking about the civil rights movement. It hit me back then. I was like, man, I need to care about this stuff. So I do believe, though, that we are holistic beings. We're part political, part spiritual, part familial, part relational, part vocational. We've got to fill all of those pieces of us, and it's okay. It doesn't have to overwhelm us or overtake our lives, any of those parts. But we do have to be aware of those because they impact other people, right? And that's what politics is. It's simply who gets what, where, why, and how we determine what is right for our society. And I think every one of us should be engaged in that in some way, shape, or form, whatever that looks like. And so I thank you for having this platform to have the conversation. I thank you for us being able to educate and inspire people. this is an election year as well. And, I will send you some resources, help you however I can to educate your audience to make sure that they are voting and that they know what they're doing when they're voting, not just sort of blindly eeny, meeny, miny, mo in the voting booth, which a lot of people do.
I stopped doing that years ago.
It's hard, and I get it. And it's not just the people. I don't know if you realize this or not. More people vote for the American Idol competition than in the presidential elections.
Which is terrible. That it should not be like that. So I'm thinking that I definitely need to have you back, and definitely we could continue to have those conversations. I'm gonna do this. Is it okay for me to share your website?
Absolutely.
That's strictly about you. You can scan the QR code and learn all about what Ted Williams III is up to, where you'll see 1619 next, and then of course just kind of the phenomenal actor that he is, because there's many levels to Ted. But I think on the side of being not number one, an activist, but also an actor, but then also an educator and someone that has inspired me for years, especially since I've been back in Chicago. So I want to say, Ted, thank you so very much for coming back.
Oh, thank you.
Coming on back and checking us out, because I've been around here doing this podcasting thing for a minute.
You have, and I'm gonna say you inspire me because you kept it going, sister. I mean, I've done some of this stuff too, and it's hard to keep it going and to continue to find new ways to grow with it and things. So kudos to you for what you're doing, and I will pray for your work because it's important work, and it's a calling that you have. And so thank you for what you're doing as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you so very much. But Ted, thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Interludes Extra Presents Talk on Tuesdays. We'll talk a little bit afterwards, because I know the missus is probably like, okay, you need to come on and take care of the situations. But next week, Women's History Month, we'll be back. Myself and Coach Tony, but on behalf of Coach Tony and Val the Voice Johnson, we're going to do this together. Me and you, Ted. Peace.
Peace. Peace.